And a very good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Bedminster Township Committee for November the 5th, 2018. Our entire committee is with us tonight. Can I get the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Yes, sir. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News in Somerville and the Burnhamthal News in Whippany to all subscribers, and also posted here at the Municipal Building as of January 8th, 2018.
I'd like you all to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On our agenda, we have two sets of minutes to review, and that would be our October 15th meeting. We have our regular agenda minutes and our executive session minutes. I see there's one proposed change.
Actually, there's more.
Two, I'm sorry.
There's a couple.
Sorry. Are there any other changes or questions? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. We have two permits. One is social affair permit for the Midland Foundation, which will be held at the Purnell School, November 18th, 2018, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Any comments or questions on that one? Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Again, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
And we have a special permit to conduct the steeplechase race meeting. This is next year's race meeting to be held on October 19th, 2019. Do we have any information on pari-mutuel betting?
The deputy clerk reached out to the Office of the Attorney General on this matter just to get some more details. Had a discussion regarding any potential revenues or permit fees that might be forthcoming with this permit, being as how it's in two towns, that anything like that, should it be split between the two towns, or how would that be handled? She was told that there is no revenue, there is no permit fee.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
there's approval from the towns that it takes place in.
Okay. My concern was that that perhaps if there was revenue, that Bedminster was not getting a percentage of it. All right. Any other comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second. Again, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Public comments. Twice every meeting, we invite members of the public to that podium right there, and to ask any questions or make any comments they wish to. We have one public comment session at the beginning of the meeting and one at the end. So anybody that's interested now can come up.
I just had, we have comments as to what's on the agenda.
Then we'll allow comment at that time. So that would be fine. If nobody else, we will close comment section. Monthly report from our subcommittee chairs, and we'll start with Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. JVH, I have a meeting coming up, but I just wanted to alert the committee that the communications director is going to be taking a new spot out of state, so they're currently looking to fill that need. It was some significant loss insofar as Renee, who's been the communications director there, has done a really nice job putting the JVH out there in the public, getting interest stirred up. So that's a material position they're going to be looking to fill. And then just in general, looking for folks who might be interested to serve as on the Friends, on the board. So if anybody here, anybody listening, anybody in the audience knows if anybody might be interested in that position, I know that they're looking for candidates and looking to screen folks. Got a meeting coming up this week with John on DPW issues, so we'll report back next time if anything comes out of that. That's it.
Drake?
Mayor, thank you. Good evening. I have no updates. Our rec committee meeting was canceled a couple weeks ago, but if we do get any updates from rec, I will give them at the next meeting.
Terrific. Thank you. Mr. Jacobs?
So first on Land Use Board, we had a meeting last week, and there was a site plan waiver that was approved but most importantly for folks, what was involved in that was improving the lighting over at the King Shopping Center. So what was proposed and approved was a new lighting scheme that's going to use LED lighting rather than, I think, was the metal halide that's in effect now. And for everyone who's familiar with that shopping center, there's light, then there's dark, then there's light again, and then dark. And with the LED scheme, it should actually just even out the lighting and should make a much more improved light scheme for the shopping center and the parking lot. Farmers Market, as everyone knows, the Fall Fest was canceled. That was going to be the last Farmers Market. We are planning recapturing the Farmers Market Committee to do sort of a recap at the end of the year, what worked, what didn't work, and some lessons learned to move forward. On Sewer Transmission Advisory Board, we had a meeting, I think that was about 2 weeks ago. I think we're going to discuss some of those topics in exec session. And Mayor, that's all I have to report.
Terrific. Ms. Santucci?
Thank you, Mayor. Unfortunately, as Larry stated, Fall Fest is canceled this year. We had a lot of great things planned, but because of safety concerns, we did cancel it due to the weather. Our administrator will have an update with regard to something that's going to be going on, an online auction of the donated items that will hopefully raise additional revenue. And Judy will update us on our report.
All right. And the only thing I want to add is Clarendon Public Library will have their middle of the month meeting actually this week, and they're going to probably interview the final 2 contenders, and hopefully by the end of this week we'll have selected a new library director. With all good luck. So stay tuned for that. Some outstanding candidates have come forward, and it's been narrowed down to just a few, and we hope to get a good decision this week. That's all I've got. I will echo the fact that it is sad to see Fall Fest not be held, but I absolutely think it was the right decision. You know, sometimes it happens, but we've been very fortunate that in all the years we've run it, we have not had that happen, and but I think it was the right decision overall. So sometimes it happens. That's all I've got. Ms. Sullivan, the administrator's report.
Couple things. Let me start with that. Yeah, John Mance, Chief Rock, members of the Fall Fest Executive Committee, myself, the Thursday before Fall Fest had a meeting that Thursday morning with the weather forecast, and we made a decision. We were mostly worried about not only just the rain, but the fact that there were high winds in the forecast. And in the past, we've had issues where the tents have become projectiles. And that's what we were most concerned about, was the tents, because we had a lot of tents. So unfortunately, yes, we did have to cancel, but I think it was the right thing. I received so many comments from all the vendors and exhibitors and the food truck people and everything, and they all actually thanked me because they said even if they had come, it wouldn't have been a great event because of the concern. So yeah, it was the right call. As Ms. Santucci said, we have probably close to 70 different items that were donated for our silent auction at Fall Fest, from golf foursomes to dinner tickets, dinner gift cards, theater tickets, other items, sports memorabilia. We probably have 70 items that were donated. So we got together. We have an online auction program that we have purchased that was very affordable. Some of our more technically talented people on the group are putting that together, posting the photos and descriptions. We hope to have the auction up on November 15th, and it'll run from the 15th to the 30th, and people can then bid on those items. So last year, our silent auction brought in over $10,000 in profit alone, so we didn't want to, if we can at least capture that. A lot of the vendors we work with were allowing us to take whatever deposits we gave for like the amusements, the inflatables, the showmobile, whatever, to either apply it to next year, or they are refunding us. So we did okay in that respect. But to be able to still have some fundraising for the group through the silent auction would be great. Just a reminder, next week, the 13th through the 15th, is the League of Municipalities Convention down in Atlantic City. We do have reservations for those who hope to attend. If there's any changes, if you can't go, there's time to cancel, but I need to know by Thursday or Friday in order to do that. I did give you each your pass to get into the convention that you'll need if you're going to the convention, but as far as rooms and those kinds of things, we really need to know. So let myself or Trina know by Thursday if you could, and we'll go from there. Okay?
Judy, do you have the, are there any other materials? Do you have the brochure with the seminars
That
they're
is
offering?
online on the League of Municipalities website, and you can download it onto your phone. It's an app, and then all the different classes are there. And if there's, you know, CEUs or CLEs or all the different kind of credits you can get, but yeah, they're all listed in that app. So we just need to make those arrangements finalized by Thursday. In case you didn't know, tomorrow is Election Day, and polls open at 6. Go till 8. I attended a meeting last week with the county clerk, Steve Peter. He had a meeting with all the Somerset County clerks to notify us that the number of mail-in ballots is extensive, and normally they have those counted on Election Day. That will not be the case this year. The ballots, they hope to have them counted by the 9th, which is Friday. However, there was no guarantee that that would happen. They said, if not the 9th, then by the 13th. And they hope to have a certification of the election completed by the 15th, which is Thursday the 15th. So they said, any of the towns that have any kind of close elections, it will be some time before we have the answer. Normally, we email out to you a spreadsheet with all the election returns. I'm told this year to not to, I can give you what we have, you know, as of like 9 o'clock Tuesday night, but that won't be the final tally. So they are telling me they're going to give me a link that I'm going to put on our website that will link you to the county's site that will continually be updating it thereafter. So,
Will they know by tomorrow night how many mail-ins are outstanding?
yes,
Okay.
By municipality?
yes.
Okay.
I have it as of today, but that.
But I think they can collect them as of tomorrow still.
Yes. Yes.
So hopefully by tomorrow night, if it's not close, one can determine it's
So
not
they
close.
should be able to tell you, say you have a difference between candidates, they can look at the margin and tell you whether the mail-ins will make a difference or not.
Right, right.
So they
That-
should be able to have that information available.
Okay,
Okay.
that's,
And if the
But that
mail-ins,
doesn't-
it's not just receipt, I think it's postmarked.
Correct. That's why it's taken, and that also, they're
Well,
not
they do-
even
they will
looking at the provisional ballots, which would be people that may have moved and never changed their address officially, or there's a question, they're not in the book for some reason, or their name is spelled wrong. Those won't even be looked at until the 13th, the provisional ballots. So,
and that will probably be extensive this year because of the rule change
Correct.
and because of the way it either did or didn't get the information disseminated. The change in the law this year was that if you voted by mail in 2016 at the last presidential, you were automatically enrolled
received.
to vote by mail this year.
Correct.
And you got a card sometime 6 or 7 weeks ago asking if you wanted to opt out and vote at the polls. And if you kind of didn't notice that and send it back in, you're going to show up tomorrow and they're going to say, oh, you voted by mail. And people are going to say, but I didn't want to vote by mail.
this afternoon.
And then they're going to give them a provisional.
Yeah, I got
So
a
those,
very lengthy report of all the mail-in ballots and all the people that are, you know, listed. And those go out to all the poll workers tomorrow, so if those people show up at the polls, they'll be told no, but they will be able to vote provisional.
Mhm.
They say, well, I didn't send in my mail-in ballot. Fine, then you can vote provisional. But that's going to take a lot of time.
as it changed by our friends down in Trenton, so we'll see how that goes.
And lastly, we have a subcommittee that's reviewing the Clean Communities grant. We have a request still pending from Bedminster Schools for some funding. So I'll wait to hear from the subcommittee later as to how that is going, because I'd like to let the school know, hopefully later this week, as to what the decision was on those monies. So I have some information I can give you to give you a better picture of what we use that funding for, and what we might need it for, but what we can afford to provide to others. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Discussion on introduced ordinances. We don't have any. Introduction of ordinances. We don't have any, but we do have one public hearing, or an ordinance, a public hearing on one ordinance, and that would be ordinance 2018-012. And that's an ordinance authorizing the appropriation of $12,000 for various office equipment for the administration and recreation departments. This ordinance authorizes appropriating $12,000 for a heavy-duty copier for the administration and recreation departments, Bedminster Township, funded by the capital account and the recreation trust account. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance 2018-012?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Is there any member of the dais or a member of the public that wishes to comment or have a question on 2018-012? Seeing none, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And so can I get a motion in favor of ordinance 2018-012?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
This will be a roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you. And just to comment on that, we had put $10,000 in the capital budget this year for any technical upgrades of this type of equipment, and this is being split with $6,000 from administration and $6,000 from recreation. So we came in lower than we had originally anticipated.
Okay.
Thank you.
It would appear we have no resolutions for the consent agenda, but we have three standalone resolutions, starting with Resolution 2018-086, authorizing the issuance of $455,700 in a bond anticipation note under three bond ordinances. Any comments or questions? If not, can I get a motion for 2018-086?
So moved.
Second?
Again, this is a roll call vote, and again, this is for the bond that we're actually
ban?
financing through our
Yep.
sewer utilities. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Okay.
Resolution 2018-087, that is the transfer of funds in the amount of $80,750. Any comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Again, roll call because of the funding. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Okay.
And finally, Resolution 2018-088. It's for a shared municipal court project, and this is money being paid out of a grant for an employee in the shared municipal court. Any comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
And again, roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Okay.
Approval of the bill list. Can I get a motion to approve the bill list pending the approval of individual invoices?
So moved.
Second?
One last roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Discussion items. Are there any items up for discussion that aren't already listed? If not, we can go to new business. Judy, can you fill us in on our best practices checklist, how we're doing in
Yes, sir.
2018, 2019?
Yes, this is an annual process instituted a few years back. The state comes up with a number of best practices that they feel towns should have in place. This year's questionnaire has 61 questions. If you're able to answer yes, or if in the case it doesn't apply to you, or in some cases, it's prospective that you're in the works of putting something like this together, you do get a point. And if your answer is no, then you get a point taken away. Those municipalities that have a score of 41 or less will have a portion of their state aid retained by the state. So you can get a full amount of their state aid. Most of these items, it was not to you earlier, if you go through them, they're mostly things that we do regularly. There are best practices that we keep in mind. They usually come out with maybe some policies that may need to be slightly tweaked or reviewed. But I have to say, Bedminster's, the CFO and myself went through these last week, and we consulted the auditor and the bond attorney, and we came up with a score of 55. So we are well above the 41. We didn't get a perfect score. We are some areas where we could make some changes. So this is, the state came out with this. Normally we have over a month to look at this and review it. This is due the November 12th. So we didn't have a whole lot of time to meet or discuss, but we're in pretty good shape. We don't have anything we need to change in order to be qualified or to meet the criteria. So if you have any questions about anything in particular, let me know. We are holding this until the 12th to turn it in.
Judy, were there any major changes from this year to last?
Every year is different. The questions, there's usually maybe 20 questions that are the same, but then the others, it's almost like an audit. You never know what they're going to question you on, but they're all things that you should be doing. So this year's list of questions was much different from last year's. So it's hard to plan, like, okay, well, we're going to do that for next year, and then next year it's not even on there. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't maybe be doing those good best practices anyway.
Thank you.
Okay.
So the requirement is just to present it to the Township Committee, answer any questions, make sure you're aware of the process.
All right. So let's look to old business. Anything on short-term rentals? Anything new?
I haven't heard anything new. I haven't received any updates from,
I know Jeff Price has been in contact with some of the management companies in the hills on some matters, but nothing new that you didn't know about already.
All right. Engine braking. Anything new on that? I know the sign is available.
I did lob a message into DOT regarding the question of restricted roads and what it takes to qualify for that. When I get an answer back, I will let everybody know. I'll continue to follow up.
All right. I'm going to move on to Pluckerman Park so we can get to letter C last. Anything new on Pluckerman Park?
Judy?
Yes, so the zoning official, there is a new property manager for that community. She has been working with the zoning official. We did send notice of violation for a few items that needed to be corrected right away for safety reasons. And then there were other areas that were also identified with the property manager. I believe yourself and Mr. Jacobs were down there reviewing some of those items. She does have a budget, she does have a timeline, she has shared that with the zoning official. They are working on a timely correction to some of the more safety conscious matters, but it is moving forward nicely. So, and she's communicating and keeping us up to date as to what she's accomplishing. So.
And I will reiterate for the record, not that there's a big audience here, and this video will be posted probably later in the week, but in my 9 years on the Township Committee, we've been to Pluckerman Park a lot, various of us individually and some in small groups, and I think it's been either 2 if not 3 owners in my 9 years. One thing we're concerned about with all the developments in the hills and surrounding the hills and all over town, quite frankly, is seeing some of those properties go into neglect. And Pluckerman Park happens to be an age-restricted development that has not aged well, the facility that is. And I know we've been in contact with the owners, each of the owners, since I've been on the committee. And I think it was just a couple years ago that it changed. Well, I remember one time we had an owner come to us asking for the restriction to be lifted in order to gain some economic benefit. And then in another situation, it came before this body looking to renew the pilot as a sale was underway. And the previous owner, the selling owner, was certainly not performing well, in my personal opinion, in keeping the facility up. And I think we stated that. And in fact, I know on 2 separate occasions during my tenure did we have the citizens group, which is allowed by our agreement with Pluckham Park, convene. It's a citizens advisory group of which the citizens in the township have a minority on that group, so it's not like we can tell the owner what to do, but it is in there. And I remember we had a Township Committeeman here that's not with us anymore. He took it onto himself to help crusade for the owners there. And we subsequently granted that pilot. I will tell you, in my personal opinion, I voted for it because I knew we had an underperforming landlord beforehand. And I think by killing the pilot, I think it would have probably killed the sale. And I think, in my opinion, we were hoping that the sale would at least improve things. And we certainly challenged the new owner at the time of that pilot renewal to do better. Mr. Jacobs and I were out there just a month or so ago, and I'll tell you, it's not better. And I think we made a big deal at one of these meetings about that. Because we don't want those neighborhoods going into disrepair, and certainly not age-restricted. Some of the, some citizens that are quite vulnerable live in those facilities, and although their rent is controlled, you know, a little coat of paint and a little attention to railings and lighting and basic upkeep would do a lot better for those citizens. And I'm very pleased with what this governing body has done over the years addressing Pluckham Park. I'm chagrined that it hasn't gone further, but unfortunately our powers are somewhat limited. But I am happy that at least we're moving forward with what we can do in code enforcement, and we certainly hope and applaud should the new landlord make the appropriate changes and do what they should be doing. That's my opinion. Moving on from there, let us look. We have the last bit of old business, which is a use of right-of-way on 56 Tuttle Avenue. And I think we have some people here that wish to talk to us about that. Mr. Velardo, just before we listen to them, is there anything new from our side? Or where
I think,
in our investigation?
Mr. Mayor, that the ownership of the road is not entirely clear. I have a survey that's been supplied from July of 1958 that shows it in the estate of George Layton, that particular part of the road. On the other hand, this has been shown for many, many years as a public road on our current tax map. I've asked Ms. Sullivan to go back to see if she could discover in the records whether there are any ordinances or minutes concerning the acceptance of this particular portion of the road as a public road, and obviously due to the age and records here, we're unable to do that. So again, without the benefit of a title search, we still have some doubt as to who owns that particular portion of the road. Obviously, if it's a town road, we have some ability to grant or at least consider certain rights. On the other hand, if it's owned by the estate of Layton or a successor, then it's a private piece of property over which we have no jurisdiction or power.
So, do we feel that it's either one of those two things, or could it be a third thing that we don't know about?
Without the benefit of a title search going back, and again, the survey that somehow ended up in my hands, that was a July 1958 survey that was done by Leslie Apgar. Apgar family, well-known engineers. Without the benefit of a title search, we're really not certain who it could be, other than it did end up as a road on a township tax map.
Okay. All right, seeing some people in the audience, are there any people that wish to comment on this, where we're at right now?
Well, I'll take a stand first.
Well, put yourself to that microphone. We have an audio recording. You won't make the video portion of the recording other than maybe the back of your head, but introduce yourself, spell your name, and where you're from.
Sure. Michael Rankin, Michaelrankin. I'm an attorney of Kazira and Hartz, and I represent the Lynches who own 36 Tuttle Avenue, who are here and will present their.
Barbara Lynch.
And Robert Lynch.
If you need the spelling, we'll give that to you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first, may I just real quick say something?
You don't want your
That-
attorney to start? Or no?
Well, okay, I'll let him start. I just wanted to say that we have nothing against
Yeah,
our new neighbors.
this is
Okay.
just something that's
This
come
is
up.
some concerns we have concerning the paper road.
All right.
Well, I think as Mr. Bellardo represented, there's some confusion as to who owns this road. Look, for approximately 44 years, the Lynches have been taking care of this road, whether it be by putting gravel down, snow plowing. They've been using it exclusively. Their understanding is it is a town road, okay, with the Laytons owning a certain portion, and they'll explain that to you if you need a little bit more, because they had a relationship back when they bought it 44 years ago with Mr. Layton, and spoke to Mr. Layton about that back portion of the road, and actually spoke at some point with the town as to, way back, we're talking 44 years ago, approximately, of them essentially taking care of the road, so to speak, for aesthetics reasons and to get out of their driveway, which is located in the back of their property. So it's been a non-issue for 40-something years. The new neighbors came, welcome, and they want to put a driveway on the back of their property utilizing the paper street. It was initially shock and awe because it's something that the Lynches have been using for 40-something years. But we took a step back and we thought about it, and we said, okay, well, if it's not in fact our road, contrary to us using it exclusively and not taking that position or reserving our right or whatever, it's more of a fact of there's concerns, okay? This road has a water runoff issue, and it's always had a water runoff issue, and Mr. Lynch is going to explain that to you. Essentially changing the landscape, so to speak, for the new driveway. The Lynches are obviously concerned, is that going to increase the water issue that runs into their property? Third is, now that there's two people using this road, not just the Lynches, who exactly is going to take care of this road, okay? If it is in fact a town road, which we're under the impression it is, and not really considering taking a maintenance agreement with the neighbors, which creates all kinds of issues in my opinion, we would rather it be the town who essentially cares for the road. And what we mean by caring for the road is snowplow. It's a road. You know, the Lynches will worry about their driveway, and the new neighbors will worry about their driveway. The road itself, let's get, utilize snowplow, which I believe was happening 40-something years before the Lynches took it on themselves. And at that point, I would love, or I'd like Mr. Lynch to speak about the water runoff issue.
Back, right after we had the sewers put in, we had Tuttle Avenue repaved. And in doing so, it was milled, and the milling was compacted, and then there was a skim coat, basically a skim coat put over it, if I'm correct in that. But what it did was it changed the whole pitch, if you will, of the road. Now, coming all the way down Tuttle to Bedminster Terrace, the water flows down and comes into the paper road, and it actually flows across the back of my property, down my driveway. I have a garage under the house, and the water goes right into the garage. Now, to compensate for that, evidently, Mr. and Mrs. Clellan, the prior owners of 56, had a problem too. So the town came in and put a very deep storm drain in, and they built curbing down not all the way to the paper road, just basically so that it would flow into this well. And that has helped, although I have already a couple times had to repair water coming into my basement.
So, could you explain for the committee where the well is located?
It's actually located probably 10 or 15 feet north of their southern property line, right on Tuttle.
Is it something you could possibly circle on the survey you have in front of you
Sure,
to show the committee and the neighbor?
sure.
If he may.
It's right there. Now it makes it difficult.
This is a survey dated July 1958
That we
shows the
supplied to the
road-
town in our letter.
That shows the road in the name of the state of George Layton.
Do you recall what year that well was put in?
That was,
I'd say about maybe good 8, 9
I'd say
years
Mr.
out.
Mance did that. Yes, because I've seen you out there with the front end loader cleaning it out. So I can't tell you what year it was, but he did do that because I believe you were here when the road was paved. And that, as I say, it changed the pitch. And I've had to put my driveway back together several times from the washout. My concern is that the paper road between our property line and 56 Beverly, or 56 Tuttle, there is a small ditch. Now that ditch assists in the water that does not go into that storm drain. It keeps it away from my property. Now, you fill that ditch, I have a problem. You know, and this is my concern. I need to have somebody from the town say, no, you do not have a problem. But I feel I do.
Let me ask you this, since you obviously have the survey that shows that property in the Layton estate, when you closed on the property 44 years ago, do you still have your title policy and title commitment?
Oh, we do.
Well, if you could supply your title policy, and not just the policy, but the actual title commitment that was done leading up to the closing, and any other documents, surveys, or deeds that might shed some light on the ownership of that particular road to the clerk, that would be greatly appreciated. Or at least your attorney could send that to my attention, Mr. Rankin.
We can definitely do that because I believe I did see it where they were, it's almost 50-50 between the town and...
Because that would, at least if the town decides, if the town decides to go ahead with a title search on this, and that has to be authorized by the committee, that certainly would give me a heads up.
Right, right. Yeah, we can do that.
Thank you.
We can do that.
And that's really all we have to do. Look, we're concerned about the water runoff, and we're concerned about maintaining this road. That's all. Obviously, the Lynches they're done maintaining a road that's going to be utilized by multiple properties.
It's not a town road, then you and the neighbor and the Laytons can decide what to do with it because the town doesn't own it.
Maybe.
That's the mystery.
That's the mystery. Although, the town certainly has a right of way to the Layton property. I mean, I don't have it in front of me, but that is where the well went. Right.
On the tax map, you supplied me with information indicating it's part of the Layton estate, so, we've got to decide who owns it, as I said.
Okay, but if it's on the tax map as a paper road,
We don't know if that's dispositive, sir, because if a title search shows that it never left the Layton estate or the Laytons, the fact that it's on a tax map is not necessarily dispositive. There's often errors on tax maps.
There's still also a road that leads to that Layton. Let's say, for argument's sake, it is Layton's property where the two driveways will be exiting. The town still has a portion of the road there where they could at least consider
I have to do a title search.
Well, look, if it's not the town's road, we have all other issues.
Yeah.
So.
You certainly do.
I have
Well, they're
clients
not
that have been
ours.
exclusively maintaining this property for 44 years, so I know
That's-
Mr. Bellardo knows.
That
You know where I'm going.
That would be your issue, not ours.
Okay, well, we'll see. All right.
We will see.
I certainly provide that documentation
Thank
if they have it, okay?
We
Thank you.
we can supply that.
Okay, thank you very much. We got
Thanks.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Ulrich, on behalf of Svetlana and Mike Panasic. Mike. Yeah, so when my clients went in for their zoning permit, the primary requirement that the engineer was concerned about was not, well, I'll read it. Driveway to be designed to not increase any stormwater runoff. So it's an issue that the township has made very clear to my folks to make sure that there is no negative impact from stormwater on any neighboring properties. My clients did, when they bought, oh yeah, we have pictures of the property if it helps anybody.
Thank you.
My clients did in buying this property, speak with the purchaser, speak with the seller, the prior owner, 56 Tuttle, and they also claim to have maintained this road as well. So you guys are correct that there are a host of issues.
there's a host of issues.
So I think for clarity's sake, obviously we prefer to resolve that issue one way or another. My clients have no issue maintaining their fair share of the roadway in any event, and truly do just want to make their property as attractive, and we think that's probably a benefit to the neighbors as well. The Laytons themselves have already approved what my clients want to do in putting in the garage and the drive to this paper road. I don't know that there's much else for us to add, other than we plan on doing exactly what it is the town asks of us in completing this project.
So is there agreement that you're both referring, that our attorney may not agree, but that you're both referring to it as a right-of-way?
In everything we saw when I represented them when they bought the house, it did show in surveys. I don't know about a title search specific to that.
I saw the title policy, but I've not seen your actual title amendment that would have had the past documents, deeds,
I'm going to look for
easements,
that
and
myself for you.
restrictions. So that's something that I have not yet been privy to help me solve what appears to be a gap in ownership.
I have, I believe, the title work here with me, but you guys all have lives, and I don't plan on keeping you here while
Well,
I'm
you again, I have the policy, I don't have the commitment leading up to it. So
Right, that's
you
right.
can send that to my office as
I
well.
will, yep.
But John, I just want to be clear that the Lynches refer to it as paper road, right-of-way,
We understand it as the
and you're referring to it the same terminology.
I understand
So
it
there
as the
seems to be, we're not there, but I just want to be clear that the two families are referring to it as a right-of-way.
I'm aware
I
of
just,
that.
this is for my own edification. Okay,
We understand that to be the case, yes.
okay.
Did anybody have any questions for my client?
No. Thank you, though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll hear from both attorneys, thanks.
Yeah, I'll get the back title work for you.
Well, yeah, I think we need to find out, I guess, a little bit more of the title history on this, but I will say, as somebody whose time on this governing body is getting very short, I would personally like to see this resolved before I'm done. But also say, you know, when you get a dispute amongst neighbors, looking at this, whether it if it seems there could be an easy way to do this, and there's a difficult way, and you can pay a lot of money for lawyers to get involved, or you can reach out and talk to your neighbors next door, and it would appear to me that you've got a a bit of property that could be a road, it could be somebody else's property, it could be up for dispute. And there's a driveway that's been used on it for many years, taken care of, I'm sure, reasonably well. And that covers half of the width of this property, or this disputed piece of land. I don't know why you couldn't have the same thing on the other side and reach some kind of gentlemanly agreement and be done with it. But I think we need to do it properly, so just because that's my initial insight doesn't mean it means anything. So that's just a set of comments from me, so.
Just to clarify, we really don't perceive this as a dispute with the neighbors. It's really more for clarity. It's more for clarity. I
Yeah.
mean, we have property that's been maintained by our client. We have property that's, according to Mr. Prince, has been approved for zoning outside of, I guess, the driveway. And
Council probably should speak into the microphone since we're recording.
I confirm, my clients do not view this as a dispute. They don't. They just are looking for clarity, okay? They've been taking care of the property for 40-something years. It is a wide road. I agree, Mr. Mayor. It is a wide road. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to say, look, if in a perfect world, if it's found to be the town's road and they could just do the snow removal, then there doesn't have to be any agreements, you know, amongst, or maybe there is some agreements as to you take care of this half, we take care of that half. We're not opposed to something like that. And that's really, I saw Mr. and Mrs. Lynch want that to be clarified. We don't view it as a dispute, but I think there needs to be a search as to really what needs to be done here, whose responsibility this road is. And look, if it's Mr. Layton's responsibility, if it's our responsibility with the new neighbors, fine. If it's the town's responsibility, fine too. But, you know, as we're learning, the town doesn't know that just yet. Okay? Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
I appreciate it. And like I said, it's, you know,
There was a reference that the Laytons had approved or whatever you had proposed. Was it in writing?
Yes.
Was that, John, do you have that?
It's just a letter.
All right, I just,
Yeah.
do you have that?
I think you have it too.
You want to copy the Layton letter?
Sure.
You know, obviously, Lane's own the property, that's
Right, that's good.
good.
Right.
Lane's
So different
not
color,
on the
yeah.
property, that doesn't amount to ill beans, so.
yeah.
Thank you.
I'm retired.
Well, it sounds like we're not going to resolve it tonight. It sounds like we need to get a little more data, and hopefully we come to something that everybody will be amenable to. Anyway, thank you for coming out. If you have any other questions, you got another few minutes if you'd like, or you can make a comment at the end if you're perfectly within your rights to do so.
Thank you, committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And we wish you all the best of luck. Which does bring us to the second and final version of public comment, so if there's anybody else that wishes to say anything that's not on the docket. Seeing none, let's go to Township Committee comments. Ms. Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. My only comment is obviously just about tomorrow. It's the most powerful right you have as a citizen, so I hope everybody gets out there and votes. And of course, by the time people are hearing this on the tape, it will already be done, but
Maybe.
maybe, that's right, maybe.
Well, the voting will be done.
Voting will be cast.
Maybe we'll know.
Let's get out there and vote, and good luck to Larry.
Mayor, no comments, thank you.
Mr. Jacobs?
Please get out and vote. And we've got 4 residents here, and we hope our neighbors on Tuttle remember to vote tomorrow. Okay.
All right. Ms. Santucci?
No further comment.
And I will say the same thing I say every year. So it'll be a camera for people to see Wednesday or Thursday. But I do hope that the campaign is over. I don't hope the campaign is over. The campaign is over for both sides. And tomorrow, the people need to vote. And I will hope that both sides treat the electorate respectfully, and let them alone and let them vote. Doesn't mean they can't encourage people to come out, but we've had instances in the past where little extracurricular activities seem to happen near polling places, and I certainly hope that they just let the people speak tomorrow and take their signs down afterwards, and we go on as Americans. So we have an executive session. I will reserve the right to maybe have something decided after executive session that's not necessarily an ordinance, but can I get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll see you in the back.
Who wants this? John, do you want this?
I have that.
With the circle on it?
I don't need it with the
Especially
circle
marked
on it.
circle.
Don't need it with the circle on it? Marked into evidence.
No. No. But I want to.
Are we back?
We are back.
It is 9:20,
Whatever you think.
and we're out of executive session.
I agree with you.
We have one more item which we need to resolve before we finish up for tonight, and this gets back to the administrator's report. Judy, could you just reiterate the
So I did pass out some
Issue.
information regarding Clean Communities Grant for both 2018 and 2017. Bedminster School presented us with a request for assistance with some of their environmental programs at the school. There was, earlier this year, with leftover money from 2017, we gave the school $3,415 towards their request from leftover 17 money. They had requested an additional $8,500 to assist with the buses for the Stokes trip, the environmental trip that they do, I believe it's for the 7th grade.
sixth grade,
Oh,
but
sixth
that's all
grade, for
right.
this fall. We weren't able to give them an answer when they presented this, because we did not get our Clean Communities money till after midpoint of the year. So before you, on the top page, you'll see the 2018 grant to us was $21,775. We use a good portion of that for funding supplies for Public Works with trash bags and new trash containers. We also supplement through payroll for our litter teams that go out on the weekend to pick up litter on township roads. You'll see them out usually on Saturdays and Sundays. So that funding supports that program. In the past, in the 2017 money, we also saved it up for a couple years, and we actually bought a mason dump truck, a pickup truck in 2017.
For use with the litter pickup.
To be used with the litter program. So currently, you can see the total there of what's remaining from our grant. And the request from the school is $8,500. We also give $500 to Breton Headwaters. That's already been given to them as part of their stream cleanup program. We do donate to that. And we've also set aside some monies for the Environmental Commission with some of their programs. For their cleanups. I think they have a cleanup plan for the AT&T pond along the hike and bike trail that they would get a part of the grant for that work.
So what you're saying is in previous years, we've given a sum of money, which I see is on page 3, for the school's Clean Community Program, right?
Yes.
Okay. Personally, that seems like what it should be used for. And I would be in favor of continuing that,
I would agree with that.
but I don't know about anything extra needs to be associated with Clean Communities program, so.
They presented their request. They did follow the guidelines of the Clean Communities program in there, that it's an environmental program for the children. When they do go to Stokes, they do talk about litter, they do talk about clean communities, they do talk about clean water. They're all part of the curriculum for the program. They did present that. It does follow the guidelines.
That's a qualified,
Yes, it is.
So it is qualified.
the balance that we're seeing on page 1, is that after the allocation for the environmental commission
Yes.
cleanup? So this would be,
No, that does not incorporate money taken aside for this year's environmental commission program.
do we have an idea of what that?
Uh, 2,500.
And then has the 500 for rare and...
Yes,
and water?
that's been paid already.
Do we have any other anticipated requests for these funds?
Not at this time.
And is this grant money, use it or lose it? Year to year, I'm saying if we don't use it all this year, do we jeopardize?
You can carry it, it's an 18-month program. The state requires us to use it within 18 months.
And if we don't use it in the 18-month window, can that affect the amount of money we get in following?
It can impact us, and they can request to take it back or whatever. So it would impact our future.
And in the past, we've always used it up. We've
Well,
had a
we-
little bit of carryover, but not significant.
Right. That's how we were able to purchase the pickup truck. But the numbers that you see on the top of what we got this year, and then you can see on the top of page 2 what the 2017 allotment was. So it fluctuates, but it's usually, if you want to take the average of those two numbers, that's about what we get every year.
We go up to 5 and do something like that.
I was gonna be in favor of bumping it up a little bit.
That's fine, Mayor.
The Stokes trip is it's a material trip for the
Yep.
youngsters.
Yeah.
It's a good chance for them to learn about this stuff, and if we could do something to help that out, I'm in favor of that.
Okay, so the request was for 8,500, but you're saying,
What would we like to do? Does anybody have a number?
Well, you just threw out 5.
Okay. Anybody have a counter to that?
I think that represents a substantive increase over last year as well, so.
Last year was what was circled on page 3, right?
no, that was what was given to them earlier this year.
Earlier this year.
With leftover money from 2017.
Oh, I see.
Well, that was left over from 2017,
Which,
and they already received $2017 in calendar year 2017.
And 2017, they did receive money from 2016.
Okay.
I would,
That was in the, it was between 10 and 11,000 they received total.
So if you were to give 5, that would be,
I'd say $5,085. With the money earlier this year, that's the number. And they've got their number.
Okay.
Correct.
If we give $5,085 plus what they've got received earlier, that's already $500.
Correct.
Yep,
So
there you go. All right,
we're satisfying the request.
sounds good to me. Do you need a vote, Judy, or a sense of the
Okay,
committee?
just to be clear though, the 8,500 was in addition to the 34 that they got already.
We understand.
So, okay. So,
We are offering 5,085,
so we give them a total of
5085.
8,500.
Which, for the
All right.
total year.
I understand.
Do you need any more guidance from us?
No, I just,
All right,
right, because we do have other groups that are looking for funding and we have other projects that are ongoing, so.
all right. Is there any other business at this late hour? If not, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Good use of the gavel. Judy, quick question here on the